Hey everybody, welcome to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. I am your host, NWA Bobby Mack, recording here live and in living color while I'm driving home from work. That's right, driving home from work. I'm working again, working with the podcast. I got to tell you, I live in Tennessee, and there's one thing I absolutely, positively hate, and that is the cold, and it is cold today. I've got I've got 4 layers of t-shirts on, 4 layers of t-shirts, a fleece, and a hoodie all on, and I am still freezing in my car. My shoot job here actually wanted me to go outside and take Christmas lights off of a tree this morning, and I simply told my boss that magic word NOO. No. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done a podcast. I'm sure all 2 or 3 of my listeners, which would probably be my mother and my grandmother, I'm sure they've been highly disappointed that they've been missing the Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review show. Oh, by the way, while I'm driving, I am not actually drunk as we're doing the show, but I'm going to get some beer. Oh yeah, I'm going to get some beer. But anyway, the last episode that I did the tweeting episode, which really came out awful, I thought. Not the idea that I originally had, or I guess it was the idea I originally had, but it just didn't come out the way I wanted it. Anyway, that tweeting episode got me in a little bit of trouble, apparently. The WWE came after my little show here on YouTube, challenging my license on showing their footage. So anybody that watched that episode, I highly recommend you go back and watch it and look at it. They busted me for showing live action, showing their live pay-per-view, or showing their pay-per-views, not even their live pay-per-views, showing clips from the shows, the pay-per-views, the WCW shows, the whatever. Really funny, though, because it's not even like, dude, I don't know how to record off the internet. So if you watch that, I'm literally taking my cell phone, my iPhone, and recording video off of my computer screen. So here I am paying $9.99 for the WWE Network, and I'm recording off of my cell phone from the computer, and then I'm downloading it back onto the computer, and I'm showing these brief clips online, and the WWE decided, hey, you know what? We're not doing anything else today. Let's go ahead and attack Bobby Mack, NWA Bobby Mack, and the Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review for showing our copyrighted material. So thanks a lot, WWE. I really appreciated it. I had to do a little exchange of emails with YouTube, so I'm sure this week, after this week's episode, the good people of World Wrestling Entertainment in Stamford, Connecticut will be looking at the show. So we appreciate you guys watching WWE. Thanks a lot. We have a comment bar in the bottom, so if you could add a comment, please subscribe to our show. It helps it keeps us free, everybody. So yeah, we got to stay free. So click on the box down below on the comments box and keep us free and subscribe to us so we can keep doing the Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. As everybody knows, this time of year being in January, of course it's a brand new year, so Happy New Year to everybody. But even more important than it being a new year, it means the road to WrestleMania is getting ready to happen. So the Royal Rumble's coming up, Royal Rumble 2015. And what better way to talk about the road to WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, than going back in time and reviewing the Royal Rumbles of the past. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is I am going to start reviewing the Royal Rumbles of the past. Some of my episodes it'll just include it in it. Other ones it might just be that actual Royal Rumble review. So say that really fast. Royal Rumble review with Rocky Top Wrestling's Drunken Wrestling Review. Whoa, I don't even know if I can remember all those words to actually try to say it fast. So anyway, this week we're going to start at the beginning and look at Royal Rumble number 1. Of course, it was won by the big man. Ho!
Hey everybody, it's Royal Rumble season, and here at Rocky Top Drunken Wrestling Review, what we've been doing is we've been looking at the Royal Rumbles. I've been watching them all. I'm only watching the actual event itself, the Rumble match. I'm not watching the rest of the pay-per-view. So I just want to give you a little bit of a take on the very first ever Royal Rumble. I'll age myself here and tell you that I was actually watching that Royal Rumble on television, on the USA Network, live when it was happening. I still have the VHS, that's right, the actual VHS tape that I recorded that Royal Rumble on for its original broadcast. On that VHS tape as well is actually the February 5th, 1988 main event. And that date right there, February 5th, 1988, is ingrained in my head. A lot of people make fun of me or don't believe me that I know the date that Hulk Hogan lost the WWF Championship for the first time to Andre the Giant. February 5th, 1988, on the main event on NBC. It was at 8 o'clock Friday showtime as opposed to the Saturday night's main event, 11:30 showtime that usually replaced Saturday Night Live. So on that same VHS, I've actually still owned the VHS. I have the two events on there, the Royal Rumble number 1 and also the main event where Hulk Hogan lost the belt. So today we're talking about the Royal Rumble. The road to WrestleMania is on its way, and here it is. So I watched the first ever Royal Rumble. Now, of course, the event was a big deal. It actually had the signing of that February 5th, 1988 match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Hogan and Andre 2. It's on there. It's part of the event. It also features a women's tag team title match. The Jumping Bomb Angels, I believe their name, against the Glamour Girls. The Glamour Girls were managed by Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. And strange enough, the Royal Rumble, even though that was the name of the event, the Royal Rumble actually, this first ever Royal Rumble was not the main event of the evening. The main event of the evening, get ready for this tag team blockbuster, the Young Stallions versus the Islanders. Two job teams, the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers versus the Islanders, which is Haku and Tama. So Haku and Tama versus the Young Stallions. Yeah, amazing that was actually your main event. So let's talk about the actual first ever Royal Rumble here. The first one, you definitely notice that there's no music, which is actually something that goes on for quite a few years, where there's no music. The guys were really meant to be surprises as they came down the ring. And I think that's a great touch. I really do like that touch when it comes to a Royal Rumble. I like that you don't know who it is. You don't have the anticipation of the music. Of course, that later on it changes, and we will be hearing music later on in Royal Rumbles. But this first ever Royal Rumble, no music whatsoever. And for you trivia buffs out there, the first ever person entered in the Royal Rumble, number 1, who drew number 1 in the first ever Royal Rumble? Bret the Hitman Hart. That's right, Bret the Hitman Hart was your first ever entrance into a Royal Rumble, and that was this first ever Royal Rumble. And who did he go against? Number 2 was Tito Santana. So right there, you at that point in time, you had two tag team wrestlers. You had Bret the Hitman Hart of the Hart Foundation versus Tito Santana of Strikeforce. And of all the tag teams that went in and out of this match, the tag team partners that were there, the only tag team that was actually in the ring at the exact same time was the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart was number 1 and Jim the Anvil Neidhart entered at number 3. No other two tag team partners were in the ring at the same time. So there's another big trivia question answer for you. The only tag team that was actually in the ring at the exact same time during Royal Rumble number 1, the Hart Foundation. First ever man ever eliminated from a Royal Rumble. Does anybody know that one out there? If you just raise your hand, of course I can't see you, but the first person ever eliminated from a Royal Rumble, the Natural Butch Reed. The Natural Butch Reed, who of course went on to bigger fame in WCW as one half of the tag team Doom. First managed by Teddy Long, the referee, and then later on the SmackDown general manager and Raw general manager in WWE. And then later on managed by Woman, and for those of us that know Woman, of course that's Nancy Benoit, Chris Benoit's unfortunate wife. So Butch Reed was the first person ever eliminated from the Royal Rumble. He entered actually at number 3 for that first ever Royal Rumble, which means when I talked about Jim Neidhart, he was actually number 4 to ever enter the Royal Rumble. So the commentators and their selling of it, they really sold the fact that it was face versus heel. The commentators were Jesse the Body Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon, I believe. And the commentators every time, especially Jesse was actually a really great Royal Rumble announcer. He sold the fact that it was face versus heel. Whenever you had the original 4 people that were in there, Bret Hart, the Natural Butch Reed, Tito Santana, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, he sold it as Tito Santana versus 3 people. And if you watch this first ever Royal Rumble, you'll see there's a very clear divide between the faces and the heels. In fact, I don't believe in this Royal Rumble at any point in time that any face attacks another face or vice versa where a heel attacks a heel. So the lines are definitely drawn there as kayfabe with the good guys versus the bad guys, the faces versus the heels. Commentators did an awesome job selling that, as well as they did an awesome job in this Royal Rumble as well as the next couple ones we'll be talking about. They did a great job in selling the fact that people drew earlier numbers. You'll see this Royal Rumble only had 20 wrestlers in it, or 20 sports entertainers at this point in time. They were actually 20 wrestlers that were in this one. The faces versus heels were a very big divide. One superstar you might not even realize was in this Royal Rumble was The Rock. That's right, The Rock was in this Royal Rumble. He actually entered the ring at the same time as Nikolai Volkov. They both came running down to the ring at the same time. Apparently Volkov had messed up and thought that he was supposed to enter the ring at that exact same time, but The Rock entered first. They both come down, The Rock hits him, knocks Nikolai Volkov down, and then The Rock enters the ring. So The Rock, Don Morocco, in his first ever Royal Rumble, and actually his only Royal Rumble appearance, was The Rock, Don Morocco. You'll also see an appearance by the One Man Gang. The One Man Gang was the second to last person in this Royal Rumble. The One Man Gang would not appear in another Royal Rumble as the One Man Gang. From then on, he was actually the Akeem, the African Dream. So the One Man Gang entered this as well. And of course, your big winner of the night, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ho! That's right, tough guy. Oh, Hacksaw won this one, the smallest ever Royal Rumble with 20 people entering. The last two, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the One Man Gang, fresh to the WWF from the UWF. When the UWF joined the NWA, those two guys decided not to come over to WCW, NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, instead going off to the land of giants up in New York, the WWF, and they joined just in time for the Royal Rumble. And you'll see when they come down, One Man Gang, of course, not yet Akeem, not yet the African Dream, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan not sporting his normal blue trunks that he later sported all the time, but actually wearing his black trunks. That if you get the LJN character, he's actually wearing these same black trunks from this first ever Royal Rumble. So there it is, your first ever Royal Rumble. Your first ever Royal Rumble winner, tough guy, is Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ho!
Hey everybody, we just want to say again, thank you for listening to Rocky Top Wrestling's Drunken Wrestling Review. We appreciate all the comments, we appreciate all the subscriptions. Of course, by saying that we appreciate it, I actually mean I hope that you guys one day will actually subscribe to us and actually leave comments for us. We want to hear your thoughts about it. We know that one of our shows have gotten like 80 plus listeners, so I'm not sure how many times my grandmother and my mother listened to the show, but it must have been a lot. But there were some other people out there that it seems like they might have listened to it as well. The coming weeks, I'm going to be talking to my alleged partner here on Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. That's right, the man who came up with the Rocky Top Wrestling name, the young gun, the king of Carter County, the librarian, Cody Isis. That's right, Cody Isis will be on the show with me. We're going to be knocking back some beers and talking about professional wrestling, as well as we're going to keep reviewing the Royal Rumbles. We've reviewed a few of them already. I don't plan on stopping reviewing the Royal Rumbles until we get them all done. So again, everybody, we do appreciate you listening to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. We will hear from you. We will see you all very soon. Thanks again. Good night.